Donkey Kong has been on a roll, making his Hollywood debut, getting his own theme park, and of course his critically acclaimed Switch 2 game. As a lifelong DK fan, it's great to see the series get so much traction as of late. When I first saw Donkey Kong Bonanza, I noticed just how different the game was from his previous outings, and I was reminded of another DK game back on the GameCube, one that could be considered the black sheep of the franchise, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Looking in from the outside, it appears to be another 2D platformer, typical for DK. But it's so much more. Not only is it unlike any other Donkey Kong game, it's unlike any other game in general. So let's take a look at Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, DK's mind-blowing GameCube classic. The main reason Jungle Beat is so unique is due to the controller you play it with, the DK Bongos. The entire game was built with these things in mind. They've become the butt of jokes today, with some pointing to them as just another gimmick crafted by Nintendo. But back in 2004, they were quite novel, and I recall them being real eye-catchers. After all, these bongos precede Guitar Hero, when gaming instruments really hit their stride. The bongos were initially used for Donkey Konga, a rhythm game made by the Taiko no Tatsujin team. You can kinda see similarities between the two. However, the bongos were always meant to go beyond rhythm games, with the goal to use them for many different genres. As the story goes, director Yoshiaki Koizumi and producer Takako Shimizu were invited to a meeting demoing the bongos, and quickly brainstormed a platformer centered around them. Jungle Beat is also notable to be the first game developed by Nintendo's EAD Tokyo team, who would later develop the Mario Galaxy games. Jungle Beat was bundled with the bongos, but I'm pretty sure you could also buy the game individually. And hey, the bundle wasn't that much more. First released in 2004, the game was like a new start for DK. While he did appear in a plethora of Mario games, his last main adventure was 1999's Donkey Kong 64, and back then a 5-year hiatus was pretty long, so it was exciting he was getting a new console game. So this is Jungle Beat. Hit the right bongos, DK walks right. Hit the left, DK walks left. Repeatedly hitting one drum makes him sprint in that direction. Hit them both at the same time to make DK jump. It's pretty straightforward. Koizumi said in an interview that the team aimed to make the game simple and accessible. So basically the bongos have 2 buttons, but there's one more feature. See how the monkeys are clapping? Well, you can do that too, and you'll be doing it a lot. Clapping makes DK do a variety of things. It's an attack, he can grab onto stuff, and so on and so forth. Clapping is certainly the most divisive element of the DK bongos. Not only can it hurt your hands, people around you may get annoyed. The game does have a clap sensor that you can adjust to the environment you're in, so maybe even smaller claps will do just fine. But a lesser known feature of the bongos is you can hit the side, which acts as a substitute for clapping. So you can clap or hit the sides, it's up to you. Or you can be like me and switch between both. While the game is meant to be straightforward, there are advanced actions too. If you start moving in one direction, then hold the opposite and then hit both drums at the same time, DK will do a backflip, and you can hit both drums at once while in the air to do a ground pound. So that's how the bongos work, and while it may not look like much, and you have to rewire your brain a bit, the controls do work, and honestly I think the game justifies the bongo implementation. You can play with a controller, but you would be missing the point. You have to keep tapping the control stick to move. You can kinda keep holding it while also holding B, but after being in the air, you don't move at all when you land. You have to start tapping the stick again, so holding B is basically useless. You jump with A, all good there, but to clap you flick the C stick. Honestly, this whole control scheme is weirder than the bongos, just play with those. The levels are dubbed kingdoms, and they're all named after a fruit. Each kingdom has 2 stages. Primarily, the goal is to reach the end, by biting into a giant fruit. You'll be maneuvering DK all around, and the game does ease you into the controls as the levels become more intricate later on. Sometimes you're just going from platform to platform, other times you're flung through the air. A lot of different enemies stand in your way, along with hazards. But DK can use flowers, bubbles, animal friends, all this different stuff to get around. After the 2 stages, you fight a boss. That's the normal setup. You can certainly play this game just by getting DK to the end and enjoying the unique controls. And that's probably the best way to start out, because the level design is really good, and it's always fun seeing what the next kingdom has to offer. But Jungle Beat is more of an action game disguised as a 2D platformer. What you really want to do is accumulate a high score. Collecting bananas will convert them into a score called beats, which is the number in the upper left corner of the screen. Once you reach the boss, the beats act as your health. Getting hit takes away the beats, and when you win, you get your final total. Simply walking into bananas will give you beats, but if you jump and then clap, DK will reach out and grab them all at once, increasing the beat amount. Actually, better yet, you can do a backflip first and then clap. That raises the score. Ooh, actually you can do a backflip, ground pound, and clap on the way down. That's even better. See, once you get into it, you'll devise all these ways to rack up the biggest combo. The game is kinda like the floor is lava. Combos keep going until you hit the ground, so you want to be flying all around getting beats. And it's not just banana collecting, defeating enemies helps too. But if you take damage, you lose all the beats you were accumulating. So that's the risk factor. Try to go as long as you can without touching the ground, but if you're hit, well, them's the breaks. After you beat a kingdom, a little video will play, giving you hints or ideas on how to earn more beats. It's a great help. Honestly, Jungle Beat reminds me more of other action games like Bayonetta, rather than the Donkey Kong Country games. It gets very addicting trying to beat your own score. Like there's a little minigame you play after beating a stage, where you bang on the bongos just to get some extra beats in. Afterwards, you'll earn crest based on how well you did. Getting crest unlocks more levels. The game says there's 3 crests for each stage, but there's a hidden 4th crest by getting a score of 1,200 or higher. Also, see how DK is sometimes in the lower thirds of the screen? That's just so you can get a better look at the big guy, and see the expressions on his face. After all, the game is usually zoomed way out. And if you look closely, he'll give you hints about secrets nearby, depending on the face he makes and where he's looking. Oh, and look at that fur! For 2004, this was really impressive. By the way, I just love how his arms extend when he's grabbing for something or he's punching things, it's great. The level design is incredibly creative. While most stages have a jungle theming, DK goes to a variety of locales. Volcanoes, snowtops, the beach, a clock tower, outer space, it gets crazy. It's not just simple platforming either. Some stages will employ your animal friends. For the snow levels with the ram, you have to keep bashing the right bongo to sprint ahead, and at certain points you have to make jumps. One stage even has this pseudo-boss with some giant iguana lizard chasing you. Then there's this helibird you can use to fly around. And you can take a ride on an orca for one stage. This game really bolsters so much variety. You get the feeling that the developers used every single idea they conjured up. There's even stages where you take part in a race. Perhaps the most memorable kingdom is the Durian Kingdom. Usually, stages just start with DK staying around, but for this one, DK looks determined, like he's leading a charge into battle. And yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. The first stage, Battle for Storm Hill, starts on a dark battlefield, where you fight your way into an ancient Japanese castle. The next stage takes place within said castle, as it burns down. It's really cool. Bosses come in 4 flavors. There are the Kong battles, which are few and far between. There's only like 4 of them. For these, you have to clap to dodge, and then pound them into submission. Each Kong isn't fought exactly the same way, with the timing being different between all of them. And if you're good, you can find hidden techniques to pull off. These fights actually remind me of Punch-Out a little bit. Then there are the Hogs, Rocks, and Tusks. Basically, the core idea for these bosses are reused again and again, just getting slightly harder as the game goes on. You knock melons into the Hogs, throw exploding pineapples into the Tusks, and for the Rocks, you destroy this, egg I guess. I'm not sure what it is, but it needs to go. The final boss, kinda, is the Cactus King. After you defeat him and have enough crests, you'll unlock the final barrel of kingdoms, the B barrel. When you clear those levels, then you fight the Ghastly King, who's the real final boss. But he's basically the same as the Cactus King, whatever. By the way, I just want to point out that you fight the Ghastly King on the moon. A lot of people miss this. The environment is very moon-like, and he's fought in the Moon Barrel. Also, one of the last stages takes place in outer space. When you get a Platinum Crest, it descends from the moon, and there's a Platinum Crest on the Ghastly King's belt. So yeah, you're fighting on the moon! I don't know the significance of it, I'm just pointing it out. If you're familiar with Donkey Kong, you've noticed by now that everything in this game is nothing like what can be found in the other DK games. There are 0 enemies from older titles, and characters like Diddy and Cranky aren't even mentioned. Personally, I think that's what makes Jungle Beat so cool. It goes against the series' traditions, and in doing so, it's one of a kind. The visual style of the game is incredibly distinct. The enemies are so wacky that anything from the Country games would have just clashed with this style. Like, one of the enemies is a man in a bird costume. He even appears in the credits. I really like how original the game is, but there are a few nods to the former DK games. The first stage's background music is a remix of Jungle Hijinks from Country. And it plays whenever you clear a kingdom too. Also, during the opening ceremony, you can hear the hi-yas sound from Funky Kong's flights. Though this is technically a stock sound effect, so it might be a coincidence, not sure. Oh, and when you hit one of these golden birds, they make a sound effect from the original Donkey Kong arcade game. Another arcade reference is, when you face off with the cactus in Ghastly King, you can hear the music from when that game starts. And that is basically the extent of references to other games in Jungle Beat. Everything else is fully original. The game's story is non-existent. It's not even mentioned in the instruction book at all. Basically, DK is just out to be the best gorilla there ever was. You know, since each level is called a kingdom, it's kinda like DK is entering into these foreign lands. And that's why I think the original and wacky approach works so well. Of course there aren't familiar elements to this game. DK is in completely new territory. I personally wouldn't have asked for it any other way. Having Diddy in this game would have killed the vibe. And with that, you must have noticed how fierce DK is. He goes to town on basically everything in his sight, pounding enemies to dust. Sometimes he even uses his head. It's nuts. While I wouldn't exactly call it violent, it has a lot more flair to it than other Nintendo titles. That's why it was appropriate that Jungle Beat received the first ever E10+ rating from the ESRB. Another noteworthy aspect of the game is its sound. Of course, the background music is incredible, especially Battle for Storm Hill. But every track gets you pumped. Oh, but then there's the actual sound effects, from the noises of the enemies, to the sounds of DK's fists. It is top-notch stuff. When you have a high combo going, the music changes and you start hearing a crowd cheer and clap for you. It makes the thrill of keeping a score going all that more enticing. You can even hear a crowd cheer for DK during the final boss. I also need to mention my favorite sound, which is when DK is going for a spike. You again hear a crowd as you go in to wham something. It's so cool. With this crowd, it's like DK is at some sports event, or he's putting on a show or something. And yeah, I guess that's how it is. You know, the game does have a lot of spotlights in it, and the curtain rises at the very beginning. Ooh, and at the end, all the Kongs come out like they're taking a bow. Yeah, I think this game is meant to be like a stage play. I mean, it's not like Mario Bros. 3 where the level environments are meant to look like props. This is still a jungle through and through, but I like this theming a lot. The game is pretty darn short, clocking in at just a few hours, but the game's endless creativity makes it feel like a full game. And as said, trying to go for a big score will keep you coming back. Unfortunately, you don't get anything by getting platinum crests in all kingdoms. The main menu just changes, that's it. But a couple of years later, in 2009, the game was re-released for the Wii as part of the new Play Controls series. This line was underwhelming, just being straight GameCube ports with Wii motion controls. But Jungle Beat did get some updates to it, which makes it the most changed game in this lineup. For starters, the game can now be played in widescreen. So, do you now use motion controls? Well, yeah, but not how you expect. I straight up assumed you would be flailing the Wiimote to move DK, but no, that's not how it works. You actually move DK with the stick on the nunchuck, and you don't have to mash it like the GameCube controller. You flick the Wiimote to clap, or well, I guess it's not clapping anymore, but you make a sound wave with it. Though it's no longer in a radius, now it's directional, meaning you have to aim it, which is annoying. This actually shakes up a lot of the game design, and they do make adjustments to accommodate. But flicking the Wiimote won't make DK grab things. It's now a separate action you press A to do. This means you'll be shaking the Wii remote and mashing A a lot. And it can get tiring. Actually, I love how the back of the box even says DK Bongos aren't compatible. DK now has 3 hearts for health. Once he loses them, it's back to the start. There are even lives now, which is interesting. And these flowers that gave you 100 beats in the original version now just give 1-ups, as do these DK coins you can find. There's even checkpoints now. But unfortunately, the big DK in the corner is gone. They also changed the panda enemy into a blue bear. Cool. Doing a backflip is now easier, just hold down and hit A. Yeah, you can hold down now, and doing so while clapping will make DK slap the ground, like in the Country games. He even does that little peeking animation, so there's a neat reference to Country. Actually, some stage elements were replaced with barrel cannons, not sure why, but okay. And on the Wii main menu, they use that hi-ya sound again. Maybe it is a coincidence. There's a bit more story now. Basically, the other bad kings have stolen the bananas or something, whatever, it's basically nothing. Oddly, after playing the opening ceremony, you can't replay it like on GameCube. As said, most levels have been redesigned, and some stages were swapped around too. But a great change is you can now view the hint videos from the main menu. Each kingdom now only has 3 crests, and you only need 1,000 beats to get all of them. But the big additions are the bonus levels after beating the game. First, there's Kong of the Mountain, which is just a boss rush of the Kong battles, and then there's some sort of celebratory epilogue. Not much to it, but it's cute. But once you get all the crests, DK now wears a crown, which is really cool. By the way, the game really utilizes the Wiimote speakers. There's a lot of cheering too, which just reinforces the show theming. Despite the fact the original game was designed with simplicity in mind, I find this version to be more complicated. Trying to flick the Wii remote and mashing A to grab things is a tad annoying. For this reason, I say stick to the GameCube game. But the Wii version is still good, totally playable. It's more like a remixed version. If you played it on GameCube, you haven't played the Wii version, and vice versa. But if you can only pick one, I say do the GameCube and the Bongos. It's so worth it. And that was Jungle Beat. Despite being the black sheep of the series, the game did have something of a legacy. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the Rumble Falls stage is based on the Jungle Beat level of the same name, though it also incorporates elements from other levels, and some original stuff too. The music from Battle of Storm Hill is also featured, and a few stickers and trophies are also taken from the game. Though DK's Final Smash is primarily based on the Donkey Konga games, when DK claps, that is unmistakably the same shockwave effect from Jungle Beat. But in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, DK's Final Smash is now pulled directly from the game, being the rush of blows he does to his enemies. His arms even extend like in Jungle Beat, and you can hear bongos as he punches. There's also a few spirits from the game too. In Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, when reaching the goal, a sound effect from Jungle Beat plays. In the Universal Studio Parks, there is a Jungle Beat Shakes in the Donkey Kong Country area. And in Donkey Kong Bonanza, you can find a sign that says Jungle Beat Cafe. You know, when I first saw Bonanza, I thought it was going to be a sort of spiritual successor to Jungle Beat. It looked like it was, again, DK in completely new environments, and I figured there wasn't going to be any references to the older DK games. Boy, was I wrong. I was slightly disappointed at first because Bonanza was seemingly paying tribute to every DK game except Jungle Beat. Apparently a lot of the Bonanza developers grew up on the country games and were paying tribute to those, so they may not have any nostalgia for Jungle Beat. But DK claps like he does in Jungle Beat, and they later added in statues of Ninja Kong and Ghastly King to the Emerald Rush DLC, which made me very happy. And while we're at it, I think DK's new design is fine, but I don't like the notion that he wasn't expressive before, as some people have said, because Jungle Beat proves he can be just as expressive. Jungle Beat is a fascinating game. It does require you to commit to a certain control scheme, but it's so worth it. Don't come in looking for a story or the rest of the DK crew. Come in looking to beat your high scores and experience the best gameplay a gorilla has to offer. It's sad that some consider this game to be a spin-off rather than a mainline Donkey Kong game, but how can that be when it was developed by one of Nintendo's core first-party teams? That's crazy to me. Not only is it a main DK game, it's one of DK's best games. Seriously, I like this game a lot more than I do some of the country games, I'm not saying which. So grab your bongos and clap to the beat. DK is king of the jungle.